Appreciate everyone joining in here. If you guys can just confirm that you can hear us well, and with that being said, we'll get started in just about a minute here. So you guys can see in the bottom right, there's a chat window. Appreciate hearing that. Looks like everything's coming across loud and clear. So you guys can see the chat window is in the bottom right. Within that chat window, feel free to ask any or to make any particular comments. Let us know of certain parts of the presentation that resonates with you, and just give us some comments as we are speaking through this presentation here. You'll also see the questions tab on the bottom right. With that questions tab, that's going to tie into specific marketing related questions that we have as we are adding to our broader team, have the ability to have some extra resources to provide some extra customer facing material. Those questions and answers in the polls help us determine what to do when. With that being said, I'm going to have a brief pause here, keep on the main screen, and we'll have Ryan Flood start this up at 11:03.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us here today. So excited to jump into this. So yeah, we're at 11:03, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So as Brian said, if you guys do have any questions, please do utilize the question portion of the portal here and load questions up at any point. We will have a question and answer session at the end of the presentation today. But if you guys load up your questions, it will help us be able to get to all those questions at the end of the presentation. And there will also be a poll available for all of you guys to answer some of the questions, as Brian mentioned. That'll help us in our marketing efforts here. So feel free to participate in that poll, during the presentation or at the end of the presentation as well. So, yeah, want to again welcome you all here. This is a very exciting, webinar for us. It's a long kind of time in the making for us here with our efforts. This really is our next generation of our sensor line. So this is our TX or Smart series, and I'll talk a little more about what that TX means and what we mean by smart sensors, as I know that's a differing word in the industry. But with us, really what we're driving with it is really pushing the accuracy and the precision of our products into our core market. And as many of you know with us, we have been a storied sensor company for a long time, and this is where we're hoping to really drive, the innovation into the industry here with this next generation. So today I'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll have a quick demo. Bring Brian back. He'll do a demo of one of our sensors, and then we'll open for a question and answer portion at the end of the presentation. So as I said, this is a big innovation for us and really starting to push this technology into the market. But it's important to start back to where we started, right? So for us, the AquaMetrix brand has been in existence for more than 50 years and has been serving the market strongly with all of the core technology that we've had, really with being the first ones to bring the pH differential sensor into the Canadian market. And from there, we've continued to innovate and continue to grow with our core competency of our sensors being, the robustness of that design and the fact that our sensors, as many of you, who use our products can attest to, our sensors, typically will work when nothing else is working in that environment. It keeps you going, keeps your customers going. And as we know in the water industry, that is all so important. So that's, where our foundation was, and that's where we really started with. So it brings you into what are we talking about today? So traditionally, the raw sensors is what us as a company have been using, and a lot of our our partners like you all have been using as well in the industry. So we've also referred to this a little bit as the dumb sensor. And this isn't to hurt the sensor's feelings by any means, right? It's basically just to say that what this sensor does is it's gathering relevant information from the environment in the water, and it's sending that over to some sort of analyzer. But what it's sending over to most people is meaningless, right? You have to do some sort of algorithm, some sort of calculation. Just getting that information isn't going to tell you the information that you need. You need some sort of analyzer or communication device to be able to understand it. And that's why we refer to that really as that dumb probe. And where the smarts today have been with leveraging that is with the transmitter or our analyzers or controllers. That's doing the work. That's taking the raw information from the sensor and it's telling you something meaningful, right? It's telling you that the pH is 8.49 as shown here, or it's telling you that the conductivity is what it is. It's doing what it needs to do. It's temperature compensating. It's doing all of that work. So that brings us to what the beauty of our smart sensors is. It's taking all of that work, all of that intelligence, all of that smart, and bringing it inside the probe itself. So that way, your output is going to be an analog 420 output or a digital sensor, which will be having the Modbus coming just at the start of the next calendar year. So with that, it's really that smart part of the sensor that's taking us moving forward with this series, but it's built off of our foundation, which is why again I started with where we came from, right? We started with the 50 years of success, the 50 years of robust technology that works and continues to work. All of that technology that we've had and that history stays in these sensors. All we're doing now is taking the intelligence of our analyzers and bringing it into the sensor itself. So let's meet our product line here. So we have all of our core products of our sensors are going through this update here. We've launched a few of them, most notably with the ASTX and the ODOTX. And then forthcoming will be our PTX, our RTX, and our ESTX. So a wide range of the different technologies that we have today. I'll talk a little bit more about each one of these. But again, with today being more of an introductory call to this launch, I would encourage any of you who are interested in learning a lot more of these, reach out to Brian and the sales team. We're more than happy to dig into the details of each one of these. They know these products inside and out and can really talk to all of you guys about the great benefits of these and the wide ranges and applications we can use these sensors in. So with that, what's the value of this, right? So yes, this is new technology to us. Yes, it's building off of our foundation, but it bodes the question, why should anyone care about this innovation? Well, again, it starts off of that foundation, like I said, robust. A lot of times today, sensors in the market, when they go innovative, when they become smarter, they lose some of that core competency of robustness. And in industrial applications, that is so critical, right? As many of you will know and can attest to, if your customer or even yourself, if you're in that industry, if your process shuts down, that's a large amount of money lost on a regular basis. So you need a sensor that's robust and you need it to be reliable. And reliable isn't just giving you the information, but it's giving you that information accurately, making sure that what the information you have is the right information and you're continuing to get it, especially when you need to get it most, right? In most applications, the day-to-day processing, everything's running well. You don't care as much about what the values are because everything's going well. It's when things go bad is when you have to care about it. And that's where that robust and reliability comes into play. You need it to work when you need it to work. But on top of that, as many people know in the water industry, we're a bit adverse to innovation. We're a bit adverse to change, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's something we're all working through. We're moving together, and a big way to help with that we believe is making our products user friendly. So you'll see with a lot of our products, the look and feel of our quote unquote dumb sensor is going to be the exact same look and feel as our smart sensor. Again, because all we're doing is taking the intelligence and putting it inside the sensor. So the way that you look at it, the way that you install it, the way that you're going to service it are all going to be the same for our core products here. which makes things a lot easier for you. But in addition to that, you get the benefits of the smart sensors to make life even more user friendly. So having it calibrated out of the box, having it ready to go, simple connections, and easier diagnostics are all things that can be done with these types of sensors. And it's all well and good for me to come out here and say, we have this great new technology and it's going to help drive, our future sales and the innovation into this industry. But the more important part, for anyone in engineering and anyone in innovation is, does it work? Can you prove it? And this is something we spend a lot of time with these sensors, working with key customers that we work with, working with key partners like many of you who are on this call as well, and doing pilots, doing demos. We've done countless hours of engineering testing in our facility as well, and really believe in the proven nature of these products. So now getting into kind of some of the details of what we see across these. So as I said, one of the big advantages of this is, unlike raw sensors and unlike a lot of other analog sensors on the market, the advantage of these smart TX series is that they are going to be factory calibrated out of the box. So this is a big advantage for a lot of you, right? If you're in a mission critical setting, you need to replace a sensor, or you don't have someone on staff that can perform the calibration right away. This again is going to simplify your process. You can take the sensor out of the box, you can connect it to the controller or PLC, and you put it into process and it's ready to go. It's going to give you the accurate readings that you expect and need in your processes. Moving forward, though, you're able to calibrate it just like you would today with any other analog sensor with your controller or your PLC. But also, some of the advantages we see now, again, as people are becoming more tech savvy and more digital, is you can actually perform calibration with these sensors with your computer as well. So it is something you're able to walk over. You can connect the sensor in. If you do it within the lab facility of your facility, you can do it in that space as well. And you can actually store the calibration directly onto the sensor. So again, in some places, right, where you may not be able to do in-process calibration, and you'd have to move it and you have to record the values, right? I'm sure some of you guys have experienced this, right? You write down the information and then you have to go back to the controller and program it back in. An advantage here is you can actually just load that right onto the sensor itself. So if you're doing your calibration in the lab, you bring it back into the process, and again, it's ready to go and ready to perform exactly as you want it to do. So it gives you, essentially that calibration your way, gives you the flexibility to do what you is best for your organization. So now introducing the pH and ORP of our sensor series here. So the PTX and the RTX, again, it's exactly as the products look and feel today are going to be what our PTX is. So if you're familiar with our P60 series or our P65 series, it's the same look and feel. For our P65 series, it's going to be the exact same connection. It is a true form fit as it is today, but the function is improved. So it's going to be fully isolated. So this is a big advantage, right? You may have ground loops or stray currents that may affect your pH or ORP values. This is something we spend a lot of time in development to prove out right, and we've done significant testing and even have units going out into the field now for piloting that are further testing this even more to really prove in different harsh environments that this is going to continue to work. And it's going to work just as it does today with fast response. It's not going to have some of the lag that some of the smarter sensors have today. It's giving you exactly the information when you want it. And conductivity. So for us, we have two different kind of realms of the conductivity. We're having our direct contact and conductivity sensors with our ASTX, and our wide range toroidal sensors being our ESTX. As you can see here what the wide range of that ESTX is, and it's a big advantage of this. With our ESTX, we did make a design decision here to have a blind transmitter box because in many of these applications, the wide range TX sensor needs to have a little bit more space with it and wants to be, or rather needs to be more compact. And so being able to keep that same look and feel of the sensor, right, which we believe is very important, it maintains that and then goes to this blind transmitter, but then still has all the same values and benefits of the TX line. The ASTX, we have 4 different models that will be available for the different ranges. So they'll be tailored specifically to the range that you want. But one of the other big advantages tying back into this that is really applicable when you start thinking about conductivity, and even with ORP and to a certain extent pH, is going to be the configuration of these ranges. So if you look at something like the ESTX rather, in most applications, you're not going to be monitoring all the way from 4 all the way up to 400,000 microsiemens. There's typically a sweet spot that you're going after, right? And one of the advantages of our sensors is we can tailor what that range is specific to your needs. And if that need changes over time, that can change without having to buy a new sensor. Again, that is configurable via an RS-45 connection to the computer, and you'll be able to update that, and you'll be able to change where your resolution is, and you'll be able to improve that resolution specific to the range that you're looking for because of the smart sensor capabilities and the hidden digital technology inside that sensor. So you can, again, really optimize it. And again, these are going to be factory calibrated and, again, isolated, just as I said with the PTX and the RTX. And then going into our ODO-TX. So this is one that we've mentioned here. We did a webinar earlier this year as we launched this product. And again, very exciting with the performance of this one. Again, all the same core values of the rest of the other products that I've mentioned here, with a big advantage of this one that we believe it can last with this calibration for 1 to 2 years and maintain that based off of the factory 90-point calibration that is occurring. Again, that's going to reduce your maintenance and, again, simplify all of your operation. So again, as I said, it's all well and good that I'm telling you the advantages of this. It's all well and good that these products, have passed our testing in-house, but where it really matters most is, does it work in the field? Does it work when your customers are going to use it or when you're going to be using it yourself? And this is where we spend a lot of time testing. So over, here on the left, you can see one of the world-class aquaculture facilities. We were able to install one of the ODO-TXs in there, and that one's been working successfully for almost a year now. And a really great story with this one, as I mentioned again at the ODO webinar, is we installed this one here. Unfortunately, we lost track of where that sensor was compared to all the other ones. And the only way we found it several months later was it was the only sensor that didn't need to have maintenance performed on it. It didn't need to be checked to see that the calibration had drifted. It continued to operate exactly as it wanted to. So it was kind of a fun, example there, right? Of it could have been bad of us not being able to get good data from it because we didn't know where it was installed, but it turned out, to actually, prove out what we're trying to achieve with this. We also did a similar install at a world-renowned aquarium, and that one's been running successfully there. Again, as you can see here, with this, it protects the life of the fish. It continues to give them the values they need, and it operates consistently. More testing we've done. So as I mentioned with both of those examples in the aquaculture and the aquarium, great installations with it. And then we also are now have an installation at a local winery. Unfortunately, haven't been invited out to that one. I've been to the other facilities. It'd be great to get to, the nice, beautiful winery out in sunny California, especially as winter is hitting here in Massachusetts. So it'll be an exciting one to see how that continues to develop. But again, moving forward with the testing, we're seeing success. We also have the ASTX. So this one's been launched for a while now, and we continue to see success after success. And more of our customers and partners are switching from the raw sensors and from other sensors using our ASTX series. And we highly encourage anyone who wants to try it or is doubtful of it, again, reach out to Brian, the sales team. We can work through a demo with you and show you just how powerful and robust that technology is and how it's going to improve the way that connectivity is measured. So as I said, smart is the way that we're going, but smart isn't always smart, right? So there's going to be some times where it's going to make sense to continue to use the raw applications that you're doing today. So when you start thinking about the smart sensors, right, smart sensors have this great advantage of it can be that one component solution. You don't need an analyzer to understand that information. It's giving you that information. It's factory calibrated. And with all of that, it's going to save you money on a solution level. But raw sensors do have their benefits as well and do have their place in the industry and will continue to have their place in the industry. So local display can be critical, right? A smart sensor it doesn't have a display, right? It's doing all the work inside, it's hidden. So if you need that display right there and you want to see that number, a simple transmitter like our 2250TX is going to fit that bill for you and for your customers. Also, using any type of analyzer or controller locally is going to improve some of that ease of configuration if your setup allows it. Again, like I said, if you're using lab setups or using different areas, the smart sensor is the way to go. But if everything's right there and it's all local, you may have simplicity in the raw sensor hooked up with a simple analyzer or controller, which will then also allow you to open the door for lower sensor costs moving forward. So, you know, plainly put, a smart sensor is going to cost more than a raw sensor. There's no two ways around it, but the combination of a smart sensor or of a raw sensor and an analyzer are going to be more. So with analyzers typically lasting much longer than sensors in their life, especially in harsher conditions, you may want to think about applications where you know you need to replace sensors more that again may be advantageous to you. It really is going to be what works for you and for your customers. So when is smart, right? As I mentioned, a bunch of those examples, direct to PLC. So PLCs are becoming more prevalent in the industry. And what happens a lot of times when you build out a PLC is it's going to work with a specific sensor. But if you're using an analog sensor, the beauty of the smart sensors in our TX line is they can easily replace any other analog sensor out on the market, and they can be easily replaced with our own sensors as well, simplifying the direct to PLC communication. Right, if the PLC is doing your work and is doing the control within your facility, you can simplify your costs by using smart sensors. And a lot of controllers that are raw sensor analyzers, they're limited in the number of parameters that you can measure. So if you need a lot of parameters, right, maybe 3 or 4 or even 5 sensors hooked up, some facilities, right, are going to use dozens. That's where you're going to need a controller or a PLC to manage that. And the smart sensors are going to help reduce all your costs. So instead of having to, put 2 raw sensors to a controller and 2 raw sensors to another controller, you're adding up all the number of controllers. You can reduce your footprint and reduce your costs. And then the other big part is a lot of other products out there outside of just the water quality sensors, like flow sensors and level sensors. A lot of them are moving to analog as well. So as your controller and your PLC are all becoming analog based, smart sensors make sense because they fit the bill for the rest of the installation for you and your customers. But when is dumb the smart approach? Well, there definitely are times, like I said, right? The local display, it can be critical for people. Some people need it, some people don't want to lose it. And that's totally okay. And smart may not be the right fit for you then because you want to reduce your costs and you want to be able to connect it in. Now, you can do a local controller like the 2300 and still get your display with a smart sensor. It all just, again, depends on what your budget is and how you want to configure it. And having options in front of you is important. The other part of it is if you want simple local control. So if you don't want a large SCADA system, you just want a simple control, our 2252 series is a really great and powerful controller for something like that. You can connect 1 or 2 sensors and you can control up to 5 different relays out of there. So if you wanted to be able to control a valve, you want to be able to control a pump, you can be able to do that with a simple local controller, which again may be what you and your customer need. So with that being said, I've talked a lot about where we're at with the products. I want to introduce Brian back here. I know most of you guys already know him here, but we'll have him come over here and talk a little bit about the AquaMetrix team and then go into a demo for you guys.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys all joining in here, and I'm sure we all took some valuable insight from Ryan's presentation there on the TX series and the efforts our team and his team in particular on the engineering side have been driving over the past year plus. And it's really exciting for all of us to start getting to this point now where we know we have this rolling out and we have some of these products available to the market that we've been testing for the past year plus. And it's great to be able to start introducing these to our broader partners that are on this call. So one of the things I want to touch on here was as we're introducing some new sensors and products that are on par specification-wise with some of the bigger players in the space. I also want to highlight where we're a little bit different of a company here at AquaMetrix. Being a private company, being an organization that reinvests everything that we earn back into new product development and the offering that we have, uh, the rollout of these new sensors is really, really important to us. And it's something that we take a lot of pride in. So again, being a cash flow driven company that passes, reinvests all of that money back into the organization, this is really, really exciting for us. Additionally, as well, I also want to highlight the availability of the products that we have. As you guys have seen in the sensor marketplace, the delivery and availability of these sensors has continued to take longer and longer and longer to be able to get products that the market needs. And we're in a unique spot with that, where we don't have any of these inventory constraints and are able to push these TX series products or our traditional products out to our clientele in a fair, quick timeline. And I hope that's something that you guys that are on this call have seen in the past and continue to see as we're introducing new products. Lastly, as well, I just want to hit on the post-service and post-sale side of things. So a lot of organizations, again, being larger organizations, don't have necessarily the availability when you have a question about installation after you buy a product, or you want to talk about the process and how the monitoring is being done. And with that, with our technical team here, we're uniquely positioned where you can reach out to Mark, you can reach out to myself, Ryan, and any of our teams about our products, about the process, about the applications, or any sales opportunities that you guys are going into. If you have an opportunity at a certain type of facility with a certain application, give us a shout, talk to us about some case studies, some articles, or what we've seen out in the market similar to what you're going into. And as you guys can see here, this is a picture of our last year's holiday card. We've got a new one coming out this year as well that you guys will be seeing for those of you local to the US here. And with that as well, you can see, I mean, we're a fun team that just really enjoys what we're doing and having fun doing it. So with that being said, as you guys know, my name is Brian Gannon. I run the sales here for AquaMetrix, and wanted to just walk you guys through the simplicity of the sensor itself. So right here is the box of our ASTX contact and conductivity sensor. And whether you're going direct to PLC or you're going into a local controller like what we're going to show here, the wiring on these is very simple with a smart 4 to 20 sensor here. So it's your simple black and red that will be going into it, with your red being the plus and your black being the minus. And with that as well, your scaling on this sensor, this is a cell constant 1 ASM1TX. So your scaling of this would be from 0 milliamps or from 4 at 0 to 20 at 2000 microsiemens. And it's as simple as simply, again, 2 wires here, put it into the solution. Plug the sensor in, and you can see we're running right up there around 2000 microsiemens on this this reading here. So this is definitely some tap water that you would not want to be drinking. But as you guys can see, I threw a little bit of salt in there as well to have those readings show a little bit higher. And as we go through here, we're going to transition now into the Q&A. So please put any questions that you have up in the bottom right of this the chat window and or the questions box, and we'll start answering those now. We'll have Ryan join in as well. All right. On the questions. All right. First one I see here is applications as it would tie to the ESTX. So you think of the ESTX, as Ryan mentioned in the presentation, that sensor, it's purely that body that would be touching the process there. And with it, that sensor is designed for these harsh applications, often 100 microsiemens per centimeter plus, and it can go right into those without any concerns of corrosion or challenges with that. So it's a sensor that's definitely designed for harsh applications. If you think of chemical manufacturing or dosing of chemicals, with that, the ESTX would be an awesome sensor to choose from. And with it, as Ryan mentioned earlier, you can set your set points, or we can send it out calibrated to your specific control ranges, allowing plug and play simplicity with it. Any other questions here? Do see one question about our ORP and our pH and the process connections of that. So what you guys saw in the presentation, we do have two different models available on those sensors, an 1.5-inch version and a 1-inch version. And whether you're looking to monitor pH or you're looking to monitor ORP, the form and feel of that sensor would be one and the same from a look standpoint. But we do offer it in both a 1-inch version and an 1.5 inch. See some additional ones here. Copies of the presentation, absolutely. We'll make sure you guys have this. And we also want to make sure, as you guys have additional questions, we know this was an introduction to the TX series as a whole. But now the next piece to this is diving deeper into the individual sensors that we have. So diving into the PTX, diving into the RTX, our contact and conductivity ASTX, or our toroidal conductivity ESTX, or the ODOTX dissolved oxygen sensor. What would welcome and ask from those of you that are on this call is to give me a shout, send me an email, and let's set some time aside to go in depth on those sensors, on the how they're utilized and where they're utilized, and also to be able to show some of the features that are individual to the specific parameters. Let's go through from here. With PTX, what parameters are you able to see? I assume pH. Can you see raw millivolt, the impedance, glass impedance, etc.? With that, I'll let Ryan answer that one. It's a bit outside of my wheelhouse given the engineering efforts there. So I'll come back to that one and circle back to that. Let's see. Some of these technical questions on the engineering side, I'll make sure that Ryan has those available and has those answered. Temperature limits on the TX series sensors. So those temperature limits is right up around 75 degrees C across those range of pH and ORP. As far as connectivity, sensors in the TX series, as Ryan highlighted, a few different avenues that you could go with it. You could go direct to the PLC with the sensors and calibrate at the PLC. It can be calibrated right out of the box as it leaves our facility. And it can be calibrated also local on a controller like the 2300. How long some of these pH ORP sensors would be lasting out in the field. So it's a great question, especially when you think of the products that we position, which are these differential sensors. So you have a reference electrode and a process electrode that are being measured against the ground rod there. And with it, what it's doing by having the salt bridge and those electrodes isolated from one another, it's allowing you to be able to have some serviceability out into the field and have these probes not be necessarily throwaway probes like other ones that you'd see in the marketplace. So as the sensor begins to drift, you're able to replace out that salt bridge, put some new reference solution in there, and extend the life and serviceability of it. We've got some of these products on the pH side that we go into some of these facilities that have had these sensors older than since we acquired the company in 2011. And as you guys know, company's roots tie back 60 plus years to Canada. temperature readings as well. There will be availabilities as we roll out and extend the line, but that is still forthcoming as it would tie to temperature outputs. And as you guys know, we also have our standard sensors as well, the PT series that would incorporate the temperature. Any plans to be able to get sensor selection guides? Absolutely, that is on our radar. One of the things that I highlighted at the beginning of this presentation is as we're bringing on some new people to the organization, again, as we've been growing, scaling, we've been able to bring in new people and fit into the mix here. And one of the new people we have coming on board will be quarterbacking a lot of our marketing efforts. And selection guides are absolutely a big piece of that. And Amit, your team's not the only one that's been looking for those. I just had some conversations with some other individuals as well of what we're curating out for that. We can touch base after the presentation to go deeper into it. Availability, do want to highlight that as well. As you guys are aware, what we take pride in is the ability to be able to ship out most of our sensors in a period of 2 weeks or less, and that's going to continue upon with the TX series as well. So those sensors that have rolled out already, the AS-TX, ODO-TX, those both have 2-week or less availability, and pretty much we're shipping those very, very quickly, as long as there isn't any custom pieces to it. So from availability, we're looking at 2 weeks or less across the TX series as these roll out. I think that covers it here. Ryan, there is a couple questions on configuration if you want to highlight those and touch upon those with the team.
All right, yeah, so a few of the other kind of more technical ones. So one of the questions here, how can I configure the sensor with the digital connection? So this is something that we can help you guys with. There's a little RS-45 dongle. They're a dime a dozen. You can get them, even on Amazon next day delivery. And all you need to do is you hook up the 2 other wires that Brian didn't show there while the sensor is being powered, connect it to your computer. And then there's some simple commands that we will have in the manual for you that you could be able to send those commands over. And again, be able to change the resolution of it if you wanted to, right? So what that range is that you're outputting, or even perform the calibration directly onto it as well. So it is something that is a very simple and cost-effective method to be able to do that. There was, let's see, another question here. So yeah, in terms of what you can also get and additional details. So I see the question here. So raw millivolt values and some of the more raw information around it. Yes, if you're connected to the digital protocols of it, you would be able to get it. By default, for simplicity, the analog is simply just the calibrated final value for customers, right? We don't want you have some changes that are associated with it, so that way when you're connecting it to an analog in the process application, it's exactly the value that you want it to be. But when you move into digital, there are ways to get a lot of that more information. Unfortunately, getting information like referencing class impedance, that's not available in the sensor from an easy configuration. But that might be something that may reach out to Brian. We can kind of figure out exactly what you're trying to solve with that, because glass impedance is very specific to the sensor itself. But it doesn't necessarily change what the performance is because it's configured the way that it's designed for that sensor. So I think it'll be something to maybe explore what you're trying to get through with that. Let's see. So distance limitations. So this is, again, one of the big advantages of smart sensors. Because the work is being done and that raw value, right? So whether it's the millivolts or the voltage out that it's reading, those values that it's capturing aren't going to have any interference or loss because it's just within the PCB, just within the sensor. The communication out with analog or out with digital is significantly larger. So it allows you to have great performance if you needed to, coming out of the sensor. Um, so is that all right? Perfect. So it looks like that's all the questions in the questions section at this time. Uh, so I think we're gonna move out of here for now. Yeah, it looks like everything is good in the question section. So yeah, again, from both Brian and I's perspective, we really appreciate you guys joining with us on the call today. We have a lot more to say about these sensors, and as Brian has mentioned, this is the start of our series campaign. So again, this is a series of webinars starting with just kind of the general overview of all of them, with them moving into the specifics for each of our products to go into the more details. So with that being said, we can do more in-depth demos for you in that webinar and more in-depth information around it. But I would highly encourage you, if you're interested in it, don't feel you have to wait until the next webinar to learn. Brian is always available, pretty much around the clock nowadays, and him and his team will answer any of your questions for you guys. We can walk through it. You're in great hands with them, and they're happy and passionate about talking about these sensors. So please do reach out if you have more information from there. But again, I appreciate you all joining with us all today. And I hope you all have a good rest of the day and a great weekend ahead of you. So thank you.
Appreciate you guys.